In North Africa in the 16th century, we learn that Solomon took his team and went out with them to fight the Ottoman defenders who had taken control of the country. At that time, a fierce battle takes place between the two sides, and Solomon shows us his courage and strength in killing the enemies. In the end, they reach the castle, and the defenders immediately close the door to try to prevent them from entering. But Solomon and his men blow up the entrance right away. After that, we see fire everywhere, and Solomon standing, watching the corpses until he finds a soldier who is still alive. So he threatens him until the man confesses the location of the throne room. Before he leaves, Solomon kills him too. After that, the men enter that room and find many mirrors around them. As soon as they start moving, demons come out of the glass and attack and kidnap the men, pulling them inside the mirrors. All the men are literally terrified, but Solomon wants to continue. When one of them tries to escape, Solomon shoots him with fire. At this moment, the door opens and reveals the location of the throne. As soon as Solomon enters, the door closes behind him, leaving the men outside. Then he starts hearing strange sounds but ignores them and goes to take the treasure. At that moment, the king's corpse begins to freeze, and Solomon approaches him to make sure whether he is breathing or not. He confirms that the room's temperature has dropped a lot. Then he sees shadows swirling around the room, coming out from the statues and surrounding him. Suddenly, this shadow gathers near the throne, and the demon known as the Reaper of Demon Souls appears before him. It strikes Solomon and knocks him down. Then he explains to him that he has come to take Solomon's soul because he spent his life in killing and greed. He hits Solomon again when he sees him respond to him. Then he pulls out a sword of fire and tries to kill Solomon with it. But Solomon blocks the sword with his own sword and tells him he is not ready to enter the fire yet. He avoids this shadow's strikes and then jumps out the window to escape. A year later, we see Solomon living in England in a temple, having completely given up violence and donated all his wealth to the church as a kind of atonement for his sins, so he would not go to hell. We also see his room full of many notes, and he has drawn a tattoo on himself to protect him from demon attacks. One day, a priest says that since Solomon moved here, he has felt something haunting around them, and that yesterday someone had a strange dream and told him that Solomon had to leave the temple. So Solomon is forced to leave, upset and not knowing where he is going. He starts wandering aimlessly and travels in the bitter cold, seeing many things along the way, like doctors burning people infected with the plague so they do not infect others, and other people hanging by their ankles as punishment for things they did. One day, a cart with a family passes by him and offers him a ride, but he refuses. That day, Solomon stops to rest a little and hears a whispering sound. Suddenly a man comes and grabs him from behind, holding a knife. Then two of the man's men arrive and start beating Solomon while the third man searches his bag, but finds that he has no money. When they find papers with symbols, they think he is a magician and put him by the fire to burn him, as they do with sorcerers. Solomon pushes them but does not defend himself, so the thieves beat him again until he loses consciousness. Here, we go back in time and learn that he is the son of a very important lord, but because he was the second son, his father wanted him to be a priest at some point. His brother Marcus was to rule all the lands, but Solomon refused to be a priest and ran away from home, which led his father to disown him. Suddenly, the Reaper appears to him in a dream. Then Solomon wakes up and finds himself in the cart of the Croton's family, who tell him he is safe with them. Afterward, they stop to camp and invite Solomon to rest. But he does not want to be rude, so he volunteers to help them. First, he goes to wash his hands and face. When the children see his body, they keep focusing on the tattoos drawn on him. Later at dinner, Solomon tells them about the people who were recruited to his team to fight on their behalf. Meredith enjoys these stories very much, but her big brother tells her that this is incitement to violence. Here, their father William tells them he used to fight with the army of the rulers until he finally turned to God and repented, after he found that killing was just too heavy and hard for him. But Solomon tells him it was very, very easy for him. At night, Solomon dreams again of his childhood. We learn that when he left his father's land, he found Marcus fighting with a girl. Solomon fights with him and brings out his knife, but Marcus easily defeats him. Then Marcus takes Solomon to the edge of the mountain and pushes him, telling him to go away so he can get rid of him. But then, while defending himself, Solomon pushes Marcus, who stumbles on the rocks and falls off the mountain. In the next scene, Solomon wakes up and goes to sit with William by the fire. William shows him the amulet with the picture of his wife and daughter. Then he tells him his family will board a ship and go to a new country to start a new life there, and offers Solomon to go with them. But Solomon tells him that his soul is cursed and that it is better not to stay with them. In the next few days, Solomon continues traveling with the family, and Meredith makes him clothes to wear. One day, Samuel, Meredith's younger brother, asks Solomon to teach him a few sword moves. Solomon teaches him some simple moves with a stick. At that moment, they find a burned town in front of them, so they enter to see the place and find it full of charred corpses. William, when he sees this, says it is the work of the devil. But Solomon finds a post and understands that the townspeople were trying to burn a witch, but did not succeed. At that moment, Meredith feels a movement and finds a little girl still alive among the corpses. They take the little girl with them, and she confirms to them that the townspeople really tried to burn a witch, but the fire did not affect her. After that, this witch killed everyone and burned them. When the family wants to pray for the dead, the girl strongly refuses, and when Solomon sees this, he becomes suspicious. He takes a cross from the family and tries to make the little girl hold it, but she tells Meredith, "We want you." It turns out that the little girl is the witch, and she places a mark on Meredith's hand. Then her eyes change, and she jumps on Solomon and attacks him, saying that the devil is waiting for him. Solomon pushes her away. The witch starts to reveal her true form. When she cannot defeat him, she turns into birds and escapes. In another nearby town, there is a group attacking some poor people and locking them in cages waiting for their leader, the wizard Malachi, to decide what to do with them. They are led by a knight wearing a mask, who rewards the men by touching their faces and giving them a kind of power. Afterwards, you notice that the men's eyes and hands have changed. The knight leaves a mark on their faces, but the men are happy that they have become strong. At that time, the Crothon's family is preparing the tents, and when Solomon looks at the mark on Meredith's hand, he does not understand it. At night, Samuel wakes Solomon up and tells him he heard a noise. When they go to see what is happening, they discover that Malachi's men are kidnapping more people. While Solomon is away, it is easy for the villains to surround and capture the family. Of course, poor William is defeated while trying to defend himself and his family. When they see the mark on Meredith's hand, they say they found her, and the masked knight signals to take her. After a while, Solomon arrives, and Samuel tells him to kill them all, but Solomon tries to negotiate with them to leave the family alone. Then the knight uses his magic to speak through one of his men and asks him to kill him, but Solomon refuses because he has repented from killing, so the gang immediately kills Samuel. When Solomon sees this, he decides to go back on his decision and tells them he's ready to go to hell just to kill these monsters. He starts fighting them furiously and kills the man who killed Samuel, taking his sword easily and stabbing him with his own dagger. While other men are fighting him, the rest of them take Meredith and leave. When William tries to stop them, two of the men kill him too. Then his older son also dies. At that point, Solomon gets angrier and kills those men in rage. Anyone who tries to approach him is killed without him noticing. The knight takes most of the men and Meredith and leaves on horses, so Solomon cannot catch up with them on foot. Afterwards, Solomon checks on William, who makes him swear to save Meredith, telling him that if he rescues her, his soul will be freed too. Then William dies, and his wife gives Solomon the amulet to help him find Meredith. Before he leaves, Solomon takes some weapons and a horse from the men and sees the dark powers leaving the bodies of the dead men. As he walks through the forest, a group of men come out from behind the trees and begin chasing him. Solomon pulls out 2 pistols and kills 2 of the men at once. Then he goes after the group on the road and kills them all easily with his sword. Next, he opens the cages holding the victims and shows them the amulet, asking if anyone has seen Meredith. Unfortunately, none of them have seen her. After traveling a long way, he finds the men setting fire to another town. We see Meredith locked in a cage, trying to comfort the other victims while the knight watches. 3 days later, Solomon finds many people leaving the devastated town, searching for a new place to live. He decides to take the horse and rest a bit at an abandoned church in the city. While praying, a man suddenly appears in front of him, so he draws his sword ready to fight. But it turns out to be Father Michael, who never agreed to leave the church. He tells him that he has seen terrible things and confirms that these people destroyed the region. He explains to him that their leader Malachi is a servant of the devil. But no one has ever seen his face because he is always hiding in the castle. The victims who are taken are later used as soldiers or slaves according to their strength. Suddenly, Soliman hears a strange sound, so Michael opens the trapdoor and shows him the ghosts underneath. Soliman cannot believe Michael has not gotten rid of them. Michael tells him those were good people, but Malachi's curse changed them. That is why he does not want to kill them for a sin they did not commit. He also admits that he feeds them. He throws Soliman into the pit and closes the door behind him. The ghouls immediately surround him to eat him, but Soliman pulls out his sword and starts killing them. Some of them eat the bodies of their dead, while the others attack him, so he uses the fire in his hand to ward them off. Meanwhile, in the church, Michael listens for what is happening below. Suddenly, someone comes from behind and attacks him. Down in the tunnel, a ghoul jumps on Solomon's back, and he slams it into the wall, creating a huge hole. Soliman throws the ghoul and enlarges the opening to escape. Then, running in the tunnels, he sees ghouls following him. Soliman tries to drive them away with fire from his hand and throws asphalt on the ground to block their path. When he's about to get out, another ghoul attacks him, but Soliman kills him. Then 2 more appear, so Soliman runs to the exit and breaks the wood in front of him to escape. When the ghouls try to follow him, the light burns them, so they remain inside. After that, Soliman finds the thieves from before returned again. We learn that they agreed to work for Malachi and have now become stronger than before, but still do not know how to use the sword. Now, Soliman fights them easily, finishing them off one after another. Then he threatens one of them that he will throw him to the ghouls, shows him a picture of Meredith, and asks him about her whereabouts. The thief tells him the girl is dead. When Soliman hears this, he gets angry, beats him, and throws him to the ghouls. After a while, Soliman goes to another town and enters a bar to drink something, hoping this will help him forget his sorrows. There, he finds some men who used to fight with him, asking him to be their leader, but Soliman refuses, telling them he has nothing to fight for anymore. Later that night, a group of men come and surprise Soliman while he is sleeping and capture him. The next morning, we find 2 men hanged on a pole because they tried to attack Malachi, and Malachi is standing watching all this. Then Soliman is brought out, and the knight tells his men to execute him too. But Soliman does not scream like the others before him. He is convinced he deserves this. As soon as he loses consciousness, the knight leaves with his men. At the end of the caravan, the prisoners are taken, and Meredith is among them. When she sees Soliman hanging from the pole, she calls out to him. Soliman wakes up after realizing she is still alive. He starts untying himself, falls to the ground, and the men surround him to kill him. But at that moment, his old team arrives and kill these men in seconds, rescuing him. At night, Soliman wakes up to find himself lying in bed in a hideout being treated for his injuries. He asks the healer to leave him alone for a while. After removing the bandage, he finds that all his scars have disappeared. When he confirms he can use his hands, he starts gathering his belongings to leave. At this time, one of the men tells him that he must wait until he is completely healed, but Soliman reacts very violently, so the rest of the men come and tell him they intend to fight with him against Malachi. At dinner, the men tell him more about Malachi, saying that he was a priest and healer, but then sold his soul to the devil for power. They also say the masked knight follows Malachi's orders, and some people believe there is no face under the mask. Soliman tells them they must fight the knight first and leave Malachi for last. The men tell him that the enemy's headquarters is at Exmath Castle. When Soliman hears this, he is shocked because it is the place where he grew up. They also tell him that the lord who was in that castle died, which increases Solomon's desire for revenge. He tells everyone to prepare. Then, Soliman and the men sneak into the palace basement through a hidden tunnel that Soliman used to play in as a child. The witch he met earlier appears on a balcony, throwing a skull at the same moment that Soliman throws his sword at her, killing her. The skull she threw shatters. At that moment, the alarm goes off, and men come out to fight Soliman and his men. The place fills up with bodies. The masked knight arrives and starts killing Solomon's men one after another. Soliman faces him and tells his men to hide because they will not win this battle. While the men leave, Solomon faces the masked knight alone, who, during the fight, pushes Solomon, who takes the opportunity to hide behind a door and close it behind him so that no one can follow him. After sneaking through the corridors and hiding whenever someone appears, he finally reaches the cell. When he is about to free the slaves, one of the knight's men comes from behind. Solomon quickly kills him and opens the cell door with the keys from the man he just killed. Unfortunately, he does not find Meredith among the prisoners. When he sees a man sitting in the cell, Solomon goes to check on him and is shocked to find his own father. Solomon tries to break the chains but cannot. His father explains that these chains cannot be broken because they were made with black magic. Finally, Solomon apologizes for Marcus's death, but his father tells him that his brother did not die and survived the fall, but was badly injured and never fully recovered. At that time, neither the doctors nor the priests could help, so the father sought help from a sorcerer. After that, Marcus did recover, but darkness took over him, and he only followed that wizard's orders. Because of the injuries to his face, he started wearing a mask. Here we discover Marcus is the knight. The wizard who brought him back is Malachi, who took all the father's money in return for his service. The father tells him that he feels terrible guilt for what he did and asks Solomon, using his pistol, to kill him. Solomon kills his father to relieve him of his suffering. Meanwhile, the team tries to hold off the knight's men with fire and arrows, but they cannot defend for long. Then Solomon arrives and, after killing the enemy, tells his men to try to buy more time so he can put an end to all this. Then he goes to the throne room and knocks on the closed door. Here, the knight's men show up behind him, but before they can kill him, Solomon finds the door opens, so he enters immediately to find Meredith locked in a cage. She warns him it is a trap. Then Malachi curses Solomon and disappears by magic. Solomon tries to free Meredith, but she tells him again that this is a trap, and that they put her here to bring him back to the castle. Suddenly, the masked knight appears and strikes Solomon with a sword on the shoulder, throwing him to the ground. Then the two start fighting, and Solomon refuses to fight his brother and tries to bring him back to his senses with words. But Marcus continues to attack him, so Solomon is forced to defend himself. We see how skilled the two brothers are with swords. Neither of them can hit the other, even as they flip around the room. At that moment, Meredith seizes the opportunity, escapes from the cage, and hides. At this moment, Malachi returns and uncovers a large mirror with a monstrous demon inside. All this while Solomon is still fighting Marcus until, finally fed up, he kills him. When Marcus grabs him by the neck, Solomon removes the mask and finds his face completely deformed, so Marcus lets him go. After that, Solomon strikes him with the death flame to set him on fire. After a few blows, he finally finishes him off. At that moment, Malachi takes Meredith hostage with him. Then he uses her blood to open the portal in the mirror. This makes the monstrous demon inside come out. Solomon immediately starts running to avoid the demon's blows. After that, Malachi comes and tells him that he can take his soul in exchange for Meredith, but Malachi does not believe him and is just about to kill Meredith, but Solomon shoots him in the head first. The sorcerer is trapped inside the mirror and is sucked in with the huge demon that is barely able to move. He also takes Solomon's soul with him, and Solomon collapses to the ground. Meredith quickly runs to check on him, thinking he is dead. But suddenly Solomon wakes up, remembers William's words, and realizes that he truly atoned for his sins by saving Meredith. After that, the men come and tell him they've finished off the possessed men, which means the war is over. From then on, Solomon travels across the states to fight monsters and protect the innocent. And that is where our movie ends today. Stay tuned for more videos and summaries. Goodbye.
Subscribe to my channel.